Hi, today I would love to show you this fall junk journal that will be in my Etsy shop next week, starting on Monday, October 8th, when it opens. This journal will be in there, and I have two fall junk journals. Both of them have the same cover, this Four Puppies Little Golden Book, and the insides are very similar. So I'm going to show just one on my YouTube channel, and the other puppy book or the fall junk journal I'm going to show on my Instagram. So I'm going to show a flip through. So if you don't follow me on Instagram, I am over there at Kitty Witty Papercraft, and I would love to see you there. So for the cover of this journal, I've added some Prima flowers and leaves and some vintage trims. The gingham isn't vintage, but this is just a gingham ribbon and some fringe and some vintage calico fabric on the spine. It has 4 signatures inside. And then on the charm, all of my junk journals have vintage yarn bows on them. As long as I can find vintage yarn. It's hard to find pastel colors. They pretty much came in all really bright or saturated colors. So occasionally I will use like pink new ribbon because I can't find any pink vintage ribbon. And a lot of my work has pink in it. So I will sometimes supplement with that, but most of the time it's vintage yarn, and it's kind of hard to find, but it's something I really love to add to my journals, and I think it just gives a really nice fun texture to it. So this one has the vintage yarn bow and some ribbons, and I made 3 little acorn charms. They are wool felt balls that I attached real acorn caps to, and I bought the acorn caps from a seller on Etsy who cleans the acorn caps. I knew I could have easily gone out and found acorn caps on the ground, but then I was worried about little bugs being in them. So I found a seller that, I think, sanitizes them. So yeah, so I made some little wool felt ball acorn charms for this journal. And there are also some various fall-themed charms here on the dangle. So all of my journals always have a dangle with the yarn bow and the charms on it. And this this journal also comes with 4 fabric clips that are attached to the top there. Okay, so let's go inside. The cover is, the inside, front and back covers are covered with vintage wrapping paper. I really try to also use that on every journal that I make, vintage wrapping paper. And I'll do some kind of rickrack trim. This is a olive green velvet trim. Not technically rickrack, but I just thought this was really, really pretty. And a lot of the vibe in this journal is kind of like a 70s vibe, because I think fall colors lend itself really well to that. And I think the 70s had a lot of fall colors naturally, so that kind of vibe comes out in this journal, I think, a bit. So there's a pocket cover, a library pocket here on the cover with a library card. This is all vintage, and a little die cut. I thought she was really cute. And some fabric and a button trim. And I won't go into detail on every single bit on every page, but there is a combination of vintage and new ephemera and scrapbook papers, book pages. I love this paper. This is from October Afternoon, which is a company that is no longer around, and I am almost out of the paper that I have hoarded that they came out with. Very sad that they are no longer around. There's vintage postcards and different tags for journaling in here. This is a printable from Molly's Mantle on Etsy, and I just printed a grid pattern on the back, so it'd be really easy for journaling on. But it's actually made from real vintage sheets. It's an image, and I just sized it down to be a journaling card size. And this pocket is from Little Bindi on Etsy. And again, it's a printable like journaling card, but I made this one into a pocket. Love those too. You'll see playing cards throughout that I use. These make great little tuck spots, but in this journal, I decided to not attach a lot of my tuck spots down, and instead I just used these cute teeny paper clips to attach them. That way there was a little more flexibility in how you set up the journal. Maybe you'd want to use this somewhere else in the journal so you can take it out and move it. Maybe you would want to collage with it, make it a backdrop to like a photo you attach over it or under it. So there's a lot more flexibility than just if it was attached down. This is one of the pages from this storybook. A pocket made from a doily, journaling card, vintage receipt, little safety pin I thought was cute, vintage fabric tab there. Every single junk journal I make has a vintage sewing pattern envelope pocket. And this one, yeah, this one opens at the top. Sometimes they open at the bottom. But this is one of my signature things, I guess you could say, because I just adore the graphic illustrations, the colors on these. So that makes a fun pocket, and I always tuck a little bit of ephemera inside of there that you can use to journal on. Here's a flip out. This is a vintage card that's great for journaling on. Let me just put that to the side. Cookbook pages, music sheets, more journaling cards, again, that you can just move around as you wish. I printed a bunch of these vintage Thanksgiving postcards, and they are throughout this journal. And again, the back has the grid pattern on it, so it's really easy to journal on. And I printed it on canvas. It's called canvas cardstock, so it's textured. So it's very reminiscent of the original feel of those postcards, and they are throughout this journal. I thought they're really fun and beautiful. One of my new loves this year, just in the last few weeks, are these chenille fabric scraps. And I'm using this as a tab right here, obviously, but I'm using them in different ways in my journals and a couple other crafting things. So this is kind of new for me, but I absolutely love the texture and feel of these. And I thought they added a nice touch with the whole like 70s kind of vibe with the gold color and the bumpy texture. Aren't these images great? And then this is some vintage journal ledger paper. It's great for journaling on. Another doily pocket. Vintage Dewey Decimal card that you can journal on. Notebook paper. Ledger paper. I'm using a milk cap as a tab. I thought that was kind of fun just to have the edge of the milk cap sticking out, and that can be a tab, and it makes so you can turn the page. Some little ephemera. Another one of those postcards. I love the image on this one. This one, I stuck the bingo pocket down to make it the bingo, to make it a pocket, excuse me. So this one is attached. And both of my fall journals have these pages from a really beautiful book on trees. Love these pages. The paper's really thick and nice. And the scrapbook papers all throughout these journals are from several companies. I use all like high quality scrapbook papers. This is, I believe, Echo Park. There's also, I mentioned, October Afternoon and Carta Bella papers in here, I believe. It's a vintage recipe card, Richard Scarry book. Just little pockets throughout. There's a lot of decoration already in this book. This goes actually over here. Little pocket with some vintage ephemera. And this is a lace collar that I just made into like a little tuck spot pocket there, and a vintage flashcard. This comes out. I love these readers, pages from readers. The illustrations are just so sweet. More journaling spots. I have a lot of people ask me about how junk journals are used and where there's room to journal when there's so much pattern and kind of busyness on some of the pages. And there are pages throughout that I put in here and there that have lines or are more plain that you can easily write on. On a page like this that's very busy and colorful, I just think it makes a beautiful backdrop, and I would add my journaling, if I wanted to do journaling, right on top. So you could take a card or just a piece of scrapbook paper or a piece of vintage ephemera and attach it over top and do your journaling. And then you can add stickers and die cuts to decorate the page. You could add a photo on top. So I just think it makes a beautiful backdrop. I am really into colors and patterns, and there are tons in my books and not a lot of plain pages, but that's just my style. I love this little guy, this little vintage owl. You will see I am a sucker for vintage animals. I just love anything that's cute, and they did cute best in the 50s and 60s, I think. And there's another one of the postcards. And that brings us to the end of this book. And the back cover is covered with vintage fabric, just like the vintage fabric on the spine. And that is this fall junk journal. And this will be in my Etsy shop on Monday, October 8th. Thank you so much for watching.